Okay, I've thought about this a lot. And we may or may not need any more pipelines. There are some sane places to put pipelines, and there's some insane places to put pipelines.
And Mountain Valley Pipeline is trying to put their pipeline in some really insane places.
When we was first approached about a pipeline, I wasn't sure if it was a good idea or not a good idea, and I walked with the surveyors. I let them survey, and I figured out pretty quickly that not the contractors, but the people in charge were lying to us. And through further research, I really realized this was a terrible project, and very quickly then became very vocally against the pipeline and have traveled anywhere and everywhere I could and can to get the word out that these are not the pipelines that were built 60 years ago. These are monsters. Lots of projects like these pipelines look for the areas of least resistance. I think they thought they were coming through uneducated poor people. They didn't figure that poor people would fight them. We didn't have money. What we did have was tenacity and brains. They didn't think we had any brains either. And we had a coalition building. I was going to make sure that this was the most scrutinized piece of pipe ever put in the ground. I promise I made it myself. If you had it. But we'll go up and get some pictures, and if I'm going to check that one cave, I've got to get a GPS location on it. MVP CEO said that next to the mountains themselves, the citizens were their biggest obstacle, and they weren't prepared for that in the beginning. This project makes me just as mad as could be. First learning about the project years ago, I decided to educate myself about what it means, what it is. It's a project that has no benefits for the region or the people of this area. This pipeline, just like dozens of pipelines across the country, put landowners at serious disadvantage due to the fact that the pipeline companies are given the right of eminent domain. And they use this right, they abuse this right, which creates a very serious problems when landowners try to protect their property. A prime example of an insane place to put this pipeline is right here in Newport, Virginia. The audacity of this company to put this pipeline so close to a person's home, right straight up a steep slope in limestone. And this happens time and time and time again. I've seen it. I've seen it even closer in West Virginia. I've seen people have to abandon their houses. They actually have bought property. They say they don't buy property, but they buy property to get people out of the way. The frustrating part is that the agencies that are supposed to be protecting people and the environment are not doing their job. The U.S. Forest Service issued permits from across the forest that they knew were illegal. We had met with them a number of times and showed them the fallacies. The Army Corps of Engineers issued the 401 permits that allows them to cross streams, saying that they wouldn't harm the streams. They knew they were illegal. They knew that it wasn't correct, but they issued them anyway.
When I retired and moved back to West Virginia 5.5 years ago, I was faced with fighting a pipeline on my property.
Many sleepless nights, much stress. It's just a nightmare that is not yet over. The only good thing right now is there's enough people fighting it that they haven't yet completed the project, and there's no gas yet in this pipeline.
I've got to know quite a few of the people who've been opposed to the pipeline. Maury Johnson is by far the most relentless. He's the George Patton, to me, of the pipeline opposition.
This project it's destroyed sacred places like the Narragansett Creek and the National Forest, and so many farms and properties from Franklin County, Virginia, all the way to Wetzel County, Virginia. And I've seen some devastation that you think you can't see anything worse. And then you pop around a turn and you see something and you think, that's horrible. As a kid, I used to see these flags and think that they were colorful. They reminded you of the circus. And I guess today I hate them. And they let them rot. They break and they don't maintain them. They just out in your fields. To me, they're just a symbol of the pipeline companies saying, we're here to destroy your land. And it's a crime. And these silt socks, give me a break. They don't work. I've seen too many of them leak. They may work for a while, but all of them I've seen leak.
Large corporations, they just dismiss people in rural areas because they think everyone who lives in a rural area is beneath them and, poor and uneducated, and they can just take advantage of them. Maury is a fountain of information. If you don't know something, call Maury. He's gonna know it.
Thank you. Just come up to tell you that the Forest Service issued a record of decision today to allow them to go across the forest.
Maury was one of the first people I met when we moved here, and that was back in 2006. I've never in my 72 years met anyone like him. He's just so dedicated to everybody, and then when the pipeline thing started, he just took control, and so no, I wouldn't have known anything if it weren't for Maury.
Yep.
I'm a fine arts professor for the Virginia Commonwealth University in Qatar and also in Richmond. Normally, I'm out of the country. Being far away and having no access to any of the things that is occurring here, Maury was the one who sent memos to my wife and forwarded to me and explained to me the devastation that was going on. And coming back over the summer, when I do come home and I can see the tragedy that was occurring here, it was mind-blowing, but without the assistance of Maury, I think my pond and my watershed would have been destroyed. A lot of the people here the watershed is destroyed because of the pipeline. And Maury was the one who led me and made me understand the devastation that was happening in this region.
Maury is a wonder. Maury shows up everywhere. I honestly can't think of a meeting that Maury hasn't attended, a group that Maury hasn't visited. As soon as he found out about this, he started fighting, and he has worked with every single person willing to fight the MVP alongside him.
Maury Johnson is sort of an enigma. He gets in his car, he goes and monitors all the points on the pipeline where there may be erosion problems. He spends every waking hour documenting things and fighting for our rights and trying to stop this pipeline from being built. And those of us who can't do that are so appreciative, and I just wonder how he can do it.
Lots of people feel like they're powerless against these big corporations, but I was raised in a community that feels like when something is wrong and a project is devastating to the community, that we can change it. We've done it on numerous occasions all my life. We can change something that's wrong. If people could see a fraction of what I have seen along this route in the 100,000 miles I've traveled and the many, many miles I've walked, you too would come to a different conclusion about this project. This has become my mission, and I will keep on documenting the injustices, the erosion, the destruction to our forests and our streams until this pipeline is stopped.